Your Honor.
We want to welcome everyone to our fifth episode of the Parental Upgrade podcast. Miss Walker, it's so glad to see you again. It's a very long anticipated weekend, long weekend, 4 days home. Trinidad is going extremely, festive right now, you know. So, yeah, so we are going to get started with our program for today. Okay?
Right. Good evening and welcome to our parents, to all our parents and the listening audience, both locally and abroad, to Excel Success Academy's Parental Upgrade Podcast, aka PUP. What is the nature of our parental podcast? We may ask. It's an online podcast webinar series dedicated to providing parent coaching and student support by addressing hot topic issues affecting parents and children in the family, schools, and national community. We reveal the truth about the best practices and moral standards for modern parenting techniques and more. Today, our topic It's just going to be a little part 2 of what we started last 2 weeks. Yeah.
2 weeks ago, yes.
Yes. So we're going to be focusing on Trini-Parenting. And as I said, this is the part 2 of it as we focus on double standards in parenting, Trini style. All right. And I'm sure some of us can resonate with the fact that we do have this do as I say and not as I do type moment. Yeah.
That's
So,
correct.
I mean, we can't shy away from that. Heather?
Yes. Yes, it is a pleasure to be with you
Good
once
evening. Yes.
again. This topic is really, really exciting. I'm anticipating the conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to be touching on some areas where that is concerned.
Sure.
Going to be touching on some moral ethics, work ethics, social etiquette, just to name a few. I mean, we are going to be here for a lovely a little encapsulated 1 hour. So let's see how we can get this focused on while we're here. And we encourage our parents to feel free to get in here and have your
Yeah.
your comments and your so feel free to get in there.
Yes.
All right. So at this time, I want to take the opportunity to just ask those who are viewing to share this link. We know how this algorithm goes. The more you share it to friends or loved ones, that's how the algorithm picks up the activity, and then it begins to make it more trend as a live event or a live program. So we're just asking those of you who are listening, you can share the link. All right. You just copy it from your search engine and send it to a few persons in WhatsApp or Facebook or wherever your networks may socialize. All right. So at this time, we want to introduce our topic for today. And that topic is, as we put our eyes to the screen, that topic is
Double standards.
right. So Trini-Parenting Part 2. You heard Natalie said it, double standards. All right. And today we want to jump into this topic because based on our research and having to address this issue so many times, we have addressed this topic as a nation. We have been addressing this topic even as as educators, as employers in the workplace. This topic has become very, very pervasive in society, where even our leaders, whether whether in government or in religious circles, you find these double standards that have caused many to go astray. And that's the reality of double standards. It tends to give people the message that compromising on your values and your standards is acceptable, you know, and that is where it becomes a problem. You know, it says that if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but that was a message that I heard growing up, Miss, for quite a while. You know, another.
Mr. Clement, I think you're frozen.
About about double standards, you know. People who have double standards are people who they talk right, but they walk in left. They're talking right, but they are walking left, you know. And if you just picture that analogy in the mind, you recognize that is so true. And we see that in society, elders, you know, they profess that they know this, or they hold to this standard. And then, you know, when you turn your back, the same thing they say that they're not going to do, or they're telling you not to do. And you know, we parents are guilty of that. Do as I say, but don't do as I do. You know, children see us doing the same thing. Miss, you could jump in here. What are your thoughts on this and how it's affecting society?
Yes. This topic is really, really interesting. Why I said that is because young people, especially the Gen Z community, you are seeing that some of them are very vocal about the double standards that maybe their parents, sometimes teachers may display. And sometimes we wonder, why are these children why are they behaving like that? Or why they can't just conform? It's because us as parents and as teachers too, we say one thing, but they are seeing something else. And children, and they learn by modeling, right? So when we model the wrong thing, and we might be professing and saying the right things, but our lifestyle does not reflect it or emulate what we are saying, then there's contradiction. The children are confused. What is really, is this really right, or is it wrong? And we can't really blame all the blame on the children's behavior. We as the adults, we have to look at ourselves and examine ourselves to see where we are, you know, where we are. What are we doing to contribute to the children's behavior?
Well, that's a great observation in terms of are we really really looking at ourselves? Miss
Natalie.
Natalie. Oh gosh. Natalie, talk to me. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Natalie, you have to mute your mic.
My apologies. Yes, so I'm just saying that, you know, sometimes it could be that, you know, hypothetically, it's where parents take their role in such a manner that, you know, that they may be focusing more on parenting, issuing instructions, and trying to navigate the children, you know, in such a manner that they don't stop to look at their own selves and what they are doing or not doing, as the case may be, that the children are going to be looking at. But then it has to be a holistic parenting style, right? You have to be mindful of what you are doing and modeling or being a role model for to your child, you know. So I I know it can be, you know, a bit challenging, you know, so to speak, but
Definitely.
nobody ever said it was going to be easy. And you know, sometimes you tend to forget that you are also being looked upon, right, as that role model, you know. So
That's a great point you just raised there,
yeah,
that
yeah.
somehow we lose the consciousness that the thing about, you see, many parents don't understand, the minute you bring a child into the world,
Mm.
you become that child's guide, protector, guardian, you know. You become that child's standard in life. So you are basically a leader. That's who you are. That's what you become. You know, you are a leader. And unfortunately, leading has to do with influence. Leadership has to do with setting a standard,
Yeah.
being a role model. But that consciousness, if it is you lose that consciousness or awareness that, hey, I have somebody looking up at me, somebody is following in my footsteps, I think that's where we begin to lose, or as the old people say, that's where you begin to drop the ball.
Yeah.
You know, you begin to drop the ball. Why do we think that, no, before I jump into that, there's this very important, the good book give the scripture verse here. The Bible, it says, James 1:18, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Unstable in all his ways. And isn't that an interesting, wisdom quote there? Isn't that an interesting wisdom quote? A double-minded man, and that's speaking now about the same double standard.
Yeah.
You know, 1 minute, he doing this, the next minute he doing that. There's another scripture verse, I think it's Romans 17, where it says, I know that I should be doing good, I know I should be doing good, but the battle is the good I want to do, I do not do, and the bad that I don't want to do, that's what I end up doing. But it gives an answer to that problem, and the answer is sin. He said he realized sin, evil dwells inside of him. And could it be, and I'm putting the question out there for the podcast, could it be the core reason for these double standards we see in our elders, in parents, now trickling down to children? Could it be is because it's a more spiritual problem more than a mental, physical, intellectual problem, So there's something that's floating out there as a balloon. We could revisit it later, but we want to treat with the real concept now. I want to set us a foundation, being in my profession as a counselor, as a child psychologist practitioner. I've worked with children for over 2 decades, worked with parents, families, crisis interventions, social interventions, community projects, national projects, regional projects. In my experience, I've recognized the issue of double standards really boils down to being before doing. All right? Being before doing. That somehow the concept of if I get my act together first, then I should then bring people into my life. For example, our children. The minute they enter your life, you can't carry them back where they come from. You can't pack them in a suitcase, The minute
I'm happy you said that because I just made a little note here while you were sharing that you know, are some parents even prepared to become parents? And in that in itself, you know, that in itself says a lot.
That's correct.
Some parents start from really very early in life when they're not even fully developed mentally, psychologically, emotionally. Some of them are coming out of problematic homes, you know, abusive homes, and they end up trying to find an escape in the wrong place, and they end,
Yes,
as
that's correct.
and I'm talking about both ends, male and female, and then you have a product out of this, and then what happens then? You know, what happens then? And there's a generation to follow from this as well. So youth having babies, and what are they haven't finished learning for themselves. So what are they teaching? What role
That's
model
correct.
could they possibly be for this young, brand new, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed generation coming to follow? So that's just a little thought I had there as well. So I don't know how we're gonna look at that one. Any thoughts?
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that because it reminds me or brings us back to the white paper exercise, that we spoke about in our first episode. When we talk about children, it's like a blank sheet of paper. They are literally a blank sheet of paper. Like I'll never forget this. It's a quote I saw. It's actually a graphic with a quote on it, and it showed two children, two toddlers, could be a year and a half old or 2 years old. One Caucasian, one African descent, and these two babies are hugging each other and playing with each other. Because they do not see color.
Correct.
They don't see color. All they see is human beings.
Correct.
The quote says, we children are not born with hate. It is we that teach them to do that. Yes. And that is such a sobering statement, Ms. Taylor. What are your thoughts?
Yes, it is. This conversation could be tied in with the moral and ethics, right?
Correct.
Meaning that a child, when they are born, they are a blank slate. They are the sponge. They are like sponge. They will soak up everything that we, the adults, the parents, teach them, right? So that quote is correct. A child is unaware of all the evils in the world. Their mind will only become knowledgeable of it if they are exposed to it.
That's correct.
Right? So if we are supposed to be the examples, we are supposed to model and show to them what is right. But most times, maybe circumstances, situations, maybe frustration, out of frustration sometimes, we may tend to be a bit selfish as parents to our needs, right? And neglect the needs of our children, meaning that, okay, if I'm so frustrated, I'm so overwhelmed, well, I need to go by the rum shop and drink. I need a break. I need to cool my head, right? Or I need to smoke a cigarette because when I smoke or vape, I get an ease, or smoke marijuana, again, I ease out of my frustration. But not knowing that our little ones or our children are looking at us, right?
Mhm.
They are observing, they are looking on. Sometimes we tend to forget that they are there,
Correct.
right? So as parents, we need to be mindful. What are we showing our children? Because I mean, sometimes what we do in moderation, children just overdo, right?
Mm.
They will take it to the next level. Okay, so if we are driving, let's just say we driving on the road, you know, someone gives you a bad drive. You might curse. What's so and so wrong with you? And not mindful that your children are in the car looking on. So what I expect, they will want to do the same thing in school as well, right? How we deal with conflict. That is exactly how they will deal with conflict, right? If we are overly aggressive or violent, they will do the same thing. Even if you tell a child, okay, when you go to school, listen to the teacher, don't be rude, be respectful, say good morning, but you not even telling your own neighbor good morning. Or if you're going a maxi or a taxi and you don't even say good morning, but you expect them to go to class and tell the teacher good morning when you are not doing it. Come on, let us be real, right? If we want society to change, it starts with us
Man in the
as
mirror.
the parents. We cannot keep on saying it's the government, the government. The government is not in our homes, people. We are the ones who are responsible for our children. So if we want to see society change, especially this Gen Z and the Alpha, the Alpha generation to come up, we need to change certain things. The way we speak to each other, meaning adults, our communication, right? The way we handle stressful situations, conflict management resolution, how we deal with conflict within our homes and around in the community.
That's correct.
Right?
That's where it begins.
We need to start with us first. Right? We need to start with us first.
We have to, you know, this thing called put being before doing. If it is that we are able to be more self-aware, you know, I grew up in a small squatting settlement community, you know, and you know, some people call it the ghetto, some call it the hood, you know, but I've come to recognize that the reason why people would behave in such a way is simply because they have no standards. They have no values, you know, they have no code, you know, even in the gang life, there's a code. You know, at least I would say there used to be a code, right? There used to be a code, right? Because, you know, you don't kill children, you don't kill women, you know, that kind of stuff. Now you're seeing men killing fathers right in front of their children. You know, late last year that happened. You know, a guy was killed right in front of the preschool going to drop off his child, and they came for him. So this whole new gang warfare is, you know, it really, they have no code and no standard anymore, right? However, if society, if we as the adults, as you said, if we are not setting the standard, if we are losing control of our own behavior, no more social etiquette, no more behavioral etiquette, no more speaking etiquette. You know, this is the values we grew up on. This is what education was all about. Teaching children how to sit, teaching children how to speak, teaching children how to dress. To me, this is the what they call it, the basics of parenting. Grooming your child, how to brush their teeth, how to smell good, how to speak, how to be respectable, how to say good morning, how to say good night, you know, how to be neat and tidy. Now it's like all hell break loose in society now. Your thoughts, Natalie?
I absolutely agree with what you're just saying there. Um, it is that it has fallen on the way at the wayside with regards to the basic etiquette training, regards to parenting. You know, um, I would have to say that with me, I try my very best to get that in. Sometimes you would even wonder at times if your efforts would fall on the wayside because you know as you would ask before, how well do you know your child? Sometimes parents get blamed when they have done their part, sent their child off, and expect that the child is doing their part to represent their personal brand, their family brand. You understand what I'm saying? But it
Yeah,
happens where
yeah.
they would falter, and you have to wonder sometimes. Are you real? Are you for real?
Yeah.
After all that I have done, all my efforts, all what what happened? How did the ball get dropped? You know that kind of thing.
How did the boy get dropped? That's
And
correct.
of course, whoever that child is interacting with, at the end of the day, you would want to know what's going on at home,
Yes.
right? Not all the time. It's going to be a situation that is lacking. There are times when parents are doing their parts, and then they say you can make a child, but you can't. Oh, hold on, does that go again?
You make a try, but you can't make the mind.
Right? So I mean,
Yeah.
that's in itself. I mean, sometimes you really have to wonder what goes on there, but it may fall under may or may not fall under double standards, where you're not you do you're doing certain things to ensure that your child is going out there to do, but in terms of actually the checking up, the following through, the consistent, you know, the consistent checking in with them, right? Because you can't leave them on their own.
Exactly.
And don't wait for the
Exactly.
time of something happening for you to be embarrassed or you to be, and that's where we have to stop and think it's not all about us parents. Yes, we do our part to some extent, yes, and we send them out, but we have to ensure that there's a follow-up and a follow-through. I
Yes.
myself had to learn that, right? Because you tend to want to take things for granted at times. And when you find that
Yes,
things
that's
are
right.
going well, you find that things are going well and you're not getting any kind of negative reviews, and then bam, what happened? What happened here? You know? So yeah, so that's my take on that. Yeah. So I
Yes.
mean,
So good point. Good point. Good point. Natalie. So this whole topic of double standards is really for us as parents to examine ourselves, to examine ourselves and reflect, take time to reflect and see if we are doing one thing and seeing a next, because we don't want our children to be confused. Now, I know that some parents, as Natalie said, they really try their best. They try to emulate being a good citizen, doing what is right. However, when they reach out and they would teach their child all the necessary skills that they are doing. But sometimes, because okay, you train up your child to be a certain way, And then when you release this child into the world, they are not only, they are mingling with other children who are seeing double standards, you know. So we as parents, we have to talk to our children as well and also let them know, okay, do not do what others may be doing, especially when you know it's wrong. Right? When you haven't seen me doing it, don't do it. Right? That you don't need to fit in, or you don't need to stand out in that particular way in a negative light, you know. But I know for some homes, you may have parents who are not together, so the children are living in two different homes. One household may have set values and morals and ethics, but when they go to the other parent, that parent might be falling on the wayside. So what I could tell the parent who is trying their best to teach or train their child, just continue to emulate, right, what is right. And then your child will come to their own conclusion. Oh, mommy, when I go by mommy is this way, or when I go by daddy, I see this, or when I go by the other parents, I see this. But the negative thing, this not working as seeing where it causing issues or problems. So let me just do what is right. They, as the child, will figure out in their own mind. But this parent saying one thing and they're doing the next, but they're not making sense. So they on their own will formulate in their mind what is right. But for the parents, I am just encouraging, I don't know who is out there may be experiencing that situation where, you know, you're co-parenting, or, you know, you're not living in a two-parent household, but they have to co-parent, right?
But even in a joint parent household, a nuclear family, you also get those challenges where one parent, because they grew up, and that the thing I see. You see, the reason why we call this program the Parental Upgrade Podcast, Miss, is really because we recognize at the foundation of the majority of social problems we have in society, it stems and begins in the home. And who is in charge of the home? Not the government.
No.
Not the priest, not the pundit.
No.
All right, not the imam, not the pastor. It is the parents.
Yes.
All right. And if the parents are dropping the ball in terms of what we stand for, what we don't stand for. So in the nuclear home now, you have a situation where in some cases where the mother grew up seeing her father, which is her idea of a meal, all right, treat with the boys or with the girls a certain way. But the guy or the husband she married or is with, he may have seen no father at all.
Yeah.
You understand? And he don't know how to collect himself or to project himself as, you know, whether it's an assertive meal or a mentoring meal or just a father who is present. Most of we call it deadbeat fathers, you know, they may be present, but they're not there. Yeah. Right? So you have it in both situations where whether it's co-parenting, single parenting, or nuclear both parenting, it's an issue of, do we share the same value system as a team, as a couple, where they are now have agreed this is what we're going to train our children? Versus now the conflict where one teaching the child, like I saw recently in, you know, in a presentation, you know, the mother was completely upset when she heard that her daughter ended up in a fight, you know, in school. And she was like, no, this is not happening. You're embarrassing the family name. And she tells the father, you better go and deal with her because if I deal with her, you know, she's gonna get a real shit down, you know, a real beaten. And so the father says, okay, honey, I know you're upset. I will deal with her, you know. And he takes her outside, and, and as he closed the door, he is giving his daughter, who end up in the fight, a high five. You get it? And he said, you give them a real good beating? And she's like, yeah, daddy, a trim on the ground and a lucky neck. And I think, pow, pow, pow. And then, while this is going on, he takes the belt and hit it on the wall, on the floor. Come on, she's screaming, pretending that she's getting licks. When in truth and in fact, they're celebrating the victory of the daughter, you know, winning the fight between the father and daughter. And that's a perfect example of double standards. Right. Behind the mother back, he is celebrating his daughter for standing up for what she believes in, or for standing up for not taking no lash from nobody. But then on the other hand, the other partner is completely disappointed.
Yes.
And this, you know what the shocking thing about this? In that scenario, the father is doing it behind the mother back.
Yes.
But in front of the child's face.
Yes.
So who do you think that child will develop more respect for?
Good question. Good question.
That becomes the problem now. A complete breakdown now in the respect structure. And if you don't have respect, you don't have trust. And if you don't have trust, what do you have? So now that, imagine that daughter is growing up. Well, based on that scenario, she was already in about her teens, 13, 14, around there. You could imagine how she's going to grow up to be. You know, thinking that a fist fight is the best way to deal with conflict. All right?
Because she's getting the affirmation from
her father.
Whereas the mother totally disagrees or disapproves the behavior. So clearly the double standard there. So it's not as you just said, it's not only in co-parenting households or single parent households. These dynamics also happen in nuclear families as well, right? But as parents, both parents have to agree on what is the best way for our child, right? What are the right choices, the right morals, the right ethics? Are we going to emulate in ourselves first so we can then reflect it, right? Show it to our children, our offspring. And, you know, the Bible also says that, or talks about being unequally yoked, meaning that it doesn't only mean spiritual wise, it also means in morals and ethics.
Morals and ethics,
because how two different people of different morals, different standards could come together and have a family on their own, it will cause confusion, it will cause chaos, because both of them cannot agree, or they come from two totally different backgrounds.
Correct.
Right? Unless one compromise and says, you know what, I think the way how you grew up will be better for our family or whatever. But most of the times that don't really happen. Right? Where you have that level of maturity, you know, for that level of agreement to acknowledge, okay, you know, when I was growing up, this wasn't good, or this was good, and I think we could use this, and we could use that from your family, and this method, and so on. But most of the times that don't really occur.
Being prepared and planning for a family between two people is where you would find something like that happening. where you're
Yes.
where things happen right way, the idealistic way. Yeah. So you have the equally yoked persons coming together. They have their priorities all where it's supposed to be. They have a plan for their future. They're planning for a family, and you could then say they will be following a template. Yes, going forward.
Yes.
But
Yes.
again, most times you don't have that happening. And that is where the problem lies. You know?
Correct.
I'm happy that we were touching on the spirituality of family in the home, so that you know that it's a matter of importance for anybody who's planning on having a family going forward, and they are listening in. It is important. So I'm happy that seed is being planted there. Aside and apart from the topic. Because now, in that regard, we get to help to put a spoke in the wheel that is already going in a direction that, double standards. So, of that double standards. So, I think that was a really good point that you shared there, Heather, Mr. Clement.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so no, you go ahead, because I was going to touch on even with where work ethics and educational role models, and so I can say, but go ahead.
No, well, we definitely want to touch on that, but before we do, we have a really nice entertainment piece here by one of the very very talented comedians / influencers, known as Certified Samson. And he has a few of these videos talking about how parents, how parents discipline children, how the double standards they set, sometimes, and there's a good example. And just going to show you this video very quickly just to give you an idea of what we deal with basically in the Caribbean, as we are focusing on Parental Upgrade podcast, Trini-Parenting / Caribbean Parenting, all right, and double standards. Take a look at this video.
Cook up a storm today, boy. Dad. Wifey cook up a storm today, boy. Dad, how come you just had a drink in that big mug? Mommy just give me this little small cup to drink in. You really want to know why I just drink in that big mug, so boy? I want to know, yeah? No problem. Wait here for me. I'll come in now. Wait. Right. Let me know if you can pay these two things. Tell me. One is a tea and tech bill. Oh, look how much? And one is the rent. I can't pay this. Right, well, hush your mouth and drink in your little shot glass. Right? The big mug is for the people who just pay the bills. When they start to pay bills, you can start to drink out of this. Oh, yes. You think I'm done already, boy? Good day, Dad. Hey, whoops. You stand up riding. What do you stand up here for? Stand up riding now, man. You don't worry, you stand up riding. Pull up your blasted pants for me. Pull it up now. When your pants below your bottom is only one thing it does be looking for somebody to touch you. Pull up your pants for me. Yeah, but Dad, my pants will just... Hush your mouth and pull up your pants. Don't ever walk inside my house like that. Okay. Only men in jail does have the pants below the bottom. My headache, boy. That pants ain't pull up enough. Pull it up more. I'm pulling it up. Pull it up till it touch your belly button. I know what to get for you for your body. A belt. So your pants ain't gonna drop below your bottom. All the young people need some guidance these days. Shucks. Hello. So good day, good afternoon. You see your little big ugly son who only coming in me yard and spoiling up my garden and picking me mango and thing? That little baby whale you have there, I don't know how you give birth to him. You see him? That little ugly boy, tell him stop coming me yard. Miss Lady, my son not ugly. Don't talk about my child so. Study your children. Your youngest son so ugly when he playing hide and seek, he had to stay hiding. And your older son chin longer than a damn flyover. Don't even talk about your husband. You ever see he smile? He teeth more space out than an empty car park. You have a circus across there. See about your circus. Don't talk about my child so. You're mad? Whatever. Appreciate you defending me, mommy. Thank you. No problem. But you're really ugly. But don't let nobody tell you that. Only your mother can tell you that. Go upstairs. You have thing to do.
But,
Caribbean parents, eh?
Yes,
Caribbean
yes.
parents.
Caribbean parents.
So what are your thoughts, Natalie? Clear double standards again, we can see there, and at least probably what one of the videos really showed that, but also with the moral ethics and values we talk about there, the last video kind of showed the double standard where she is defending her son, but in the same margin, they may really ugly, but only I am allowed to.
Yeah.
Wow. Go ahead, Miss. Go ahead.
So I mean, you couldn't get it more real than than you got it there at Trini style parenting, and the double standards again. You're defending your child. However, you know behind closed doors you're gonna deal with them, but it's the manner in which it was handled in front of the child to see how it was handled,
Yes.
So I mean, while we can look at it and laugh, it is something that we have to look at as parents in the manner in which we deal with situations, right?
Correct.
At the end of the day, they always say it's not what you do, it's how you do things.
Correct.
And you always have to be mindful that in front of your children, you can't be a certain way if you're trying to teach them to be the opposite.
That's correct.
So that was entertaining, but very realistic.
Yes, definitely.
So let's take it deeper because we just have a few minutes left remaining for the program. But let's go a little, let's just cover about 2 other areas that we had planned to just address tonight. We know we cannot finish all because this topic is so elaborate, it's so expansive, and we're hoping that at our next episode we can bring on a guest speaker to probably go a little deeper into this, because I know from my own personal research, I've discovered that the issue of compromising or double standards, it really has to do with a person value system. There are some beliefs out there that believes that the means does not justify the end. Meaning you can do anything once you achieve your goal, and that anything means anything, right? And if you that is your value system that you believe in, then that transfers into your parenting. I've heard parents tell their children, if anybody touch you, I will personally go in school for them, and when you make those sort of instructions,
or they might say, I know an incident where a parent will say, if they hit you, hit them back. But then when you call the parents into the school to deal with the situation because the child hit back the person, the parents will be like, oh gosh, why you hitting the child for? You mustn't hit them. And then outside they saying, yeah, hit them. But in front the teacher, you say, no gosh, you know you shouldn't do that. And things, but you must behave yourself. Don't do that. Don't hit nobody. You know, and then the child, but you say to do it. And you tell me to hit the child.
Yeah.
Don't take no lash.
Yeah. Yeah, I've witnessed that. I've witnessed that already.
Yes.
When parents put on a charade,
yeah,
you know, in front of the teachers or in front of the principal when an incident takes place with their child. But behind closed doors, the child knows, mommy, according to Ezekiel, Ezekiel will say, what mommy, you're real sure no.
You're real sure no.
Oh, Lord.
We do that, and our own children sometimes will expose us right there and in the moment. So we have to be careful. We cannot tell them one thing, and when they do what we say, we want to now correct them. And this generation, they are exposing you to it.
Yeah, they will expose you.
Yeah,
they don't have covers or filters as we adults have grown to have masks and filters and facades. The Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas, they basically they are raw, you know, unfiltered. You know, they get to the unfiltered truth, you know, and their emotions are just raw. You know, they tell you what comes to mind, no filters. And that is why we as parents, we have to have our values very resolute and very strong, because if they are so raw and unfiltered and uncouth to some extent with how they express their emotions, and I notice I use the word emotions here because the problem with emotions is that it is sensate in origin. It's all based on the what's happening in the circumstance or the environment at the point in time. But it is all temporary. It's not well thought out emotions, it's not well thought out words. It's just an in the moment expression that these young people just blurt out things, they, you know, and react to things, but they don't think, you know. Young people do not think. As a matter of fact, I'll show you that research in a presentation I'll do sometime, that according to the ESA Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, they recognized, they did a research on the brain, and they was showing that the brain does not really develop until it reaches 21 to 25 years old. That's when the brain actually becomes fully developed. All right, and what makes it compound the matter is that the part of the brain that develops last is the executive thinking functions of the brain. And the part that develops first, very, very earlier on in childhood into teenage years, is the what you call the monkey brain. You know, the brain that is very sensate and emotional driven, right? So they are learning everything by stimuli, by feelings, by emotions, you know, by impulses. But all that impulse and all that reaction and all that, you know, music or whatever they are watching and involved in, an emotion they are wrapped up in, it's completely unfiltered. And that's where the parents' role becomes even more critical. Because we are the ones with the experience now and with the age to be able to tell them, hey, you know, you're human, you know, you'll make mistakes, or it's okay to feel that way, when you're angry, sad, you know, excited, disappointed. But we know that's where we use it as a teaching point, you know, in a situation like that. When you become older, you can deal with it or dealing with it now, you know. And we have to take those opportunities not to teach them the values and standards, you know. You know, because in a case like this, you know, I think the first video, it showed, you know, how the mother is honoring her man. You understand? Which what women, wives particular, supposed to do. You're supposed to make your husband respect him as a king in the home. And by her giving him the bigger cup of juice or whatever, now the son looking and want to know, well, why he getting a small cup and he getting a big cup, you know? And if you notice, the father took that opportunity. That's what we're supposed to do. We listen to their youthful foolishness, their youthful folly, and we take that opportunity to teach them the right thing. That's what he did.
Teaching moment.
Use it as a teaching moment. And in my view, I find we are not parenting anymore, you know, quite honestly. You know, when you look at society, a large part of society, let's put it that way, is not parenting anymore. You have the in small sections, you know, sectors in society where parents they have a long-term plan for their child. They know that when the child is 18, they want them to study this, pursue this career, or they want them to have this degree, or they want them to take over the business, or they want them to become very few parents have that sort of long-range, long-term plan and investments in their children. Very few, you know. Parents nowadays just surviving. And this is becoming, because of that survival mode, we're not really teaching, we're not training anymore.
Correct.
Train up a child in the way that they should go, that when they get what? Old. So parenting is a long-range activity, it's a long-range responsibility. But if I only parenting based on how I feel now, I'm frustrated now, you know, I have this to do that. And I'm not thinking, I'm not keeping at the forefront of my mind the bigger picture. Okay, I'm training this child, you know, with certain values and skills because, you know, 15 years down the road, she going to university. She going to our next country to study. Or she going to campus to live on her own. So I need to teach her to cook, to clean, to wash your own clothes, to not to respect others, not to live with other dorm mates, right? You have to start training them from now. So this is where then we have the problems because we have no long-term plan for them. We just doing our best basically, you know, we just surviving. That we lose those critical moments to teach them those solid values and standards, you know, and that's where the double standard step in. All right, Miss Moses, you were talking about work ethic and so on. How do we train our children to be lazy? You know, which is a problem a lot of employers having today. You know, this Gen Zers and they want to make $4,000 a month and $6,000 and $8,000 a month, but they're on the phone whole day behind the counter. How are we setting double standards as parents?
Again, modeling, you know, but yet we would like to see more out of them, right? I'm just saying, you know, that, and what we allow, you know, for whatever the reason, what we allow or what we are modeling. And then, of course, expecting them to do the right thing, go out into society and represent. Mr. Clement, I think you're frozen. Right. Basically, you know, that's my take on it. And it's just that we have to be a little more cognizant as parents to be, as you would rightfully say, be who we would like to see in them. You know? So if it means that if we know that we're faltering by being the wrong type of role model, then we need to correct that. Or we need to also ensure that whatever we are seeing outside of what we are developing, we need to start to look at addressing that, because they don't always use us as role models for whatever the reason. They have other influences, you know. So it's whoever they deem as their role model. If you are not that for them, you know, which of course you should be ideally the role model for them, you know. But again, It doesn't always work like that.
That's true.
Right?
That's
So
right. That's always work like that.
that's my take on that, you know, but I, again, in terms of work ethics and you know, as
And
it
social
pertains to
etiquette.
education,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah. I
as
said
it
social
pertains to
etiquette as
education,
well.
sorry,
I said social etiquette, how they speak to others.
yes, manners where manners is concerned,
And
and
even
so
adults.
as well,
Yeah.
yeah, as well as, you know, the way they conduct themselves in terms of socially, and so again, basics need to be taught
Correct.
from home, you know, from home. And if we are not doing our part as parents and expecting our children to go out there and represent, if they're not being taught, how are they going to go ahead and do that? Right? And again, sometimes you may have them being taught, and then what happens in some cases? The child, they don't make their minds.
That's correct.
I know of a parent who would have done their best in trying to teach their child so, you know, so many different values from the home life, and not for I don't know, that parent could not fathom the thought as to why this child would would only want to swim upstream when everybody else is going down, when everybody else is doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I don't know what was the situation there. And then you have to talk about genetics, because that child was living with a single parent in a single parent family, right? Not a nuclear setting. So here it is, the child is being taught a certain way at home, and yet unfamiliar behavior was happening.
Right.
Probably genetics, you know. So that could be a possibility as well. As it pertains to, you know, to the social etiquette, and, you know, and the manners.
Yes, Natalie, you are correct.
You could do all what you can sometimes, but children just don't take what they're supposed to be taking from the lesson.
Correct, correct. Right. So, wow. So, guys, tonight has definitely been a conversational starter with its double standards with regards to Trini-Parenting. And we will continue this topic. Definitely, we are going to have a part 3 of this conversation because it is definitely needed at this time. If we as parents, as educators, we need to see some sort of change happening in society. And change could only happen if we, the adults, we, the parents, actually take a stand and start with us. It starts with us. No one else but with ourselves. So just food for thought. Take some time and reflect. Examine yourself. Look into your life, you know, to see where am I showing double standards to my children, whether it's based in morals or social etiquette, work ethics, you know. Let us examine ourselves based on the conversation that we had tonight, this evening, you know, and we do look forward having this conversation again. And we thank you for taking the time to listen to Parental Upgrade
Podcast.
Podcast, yes.
So tonight we want to close. Again, we just touched the surface. We want to take this further. And one of the things we do here at the Excel Success Academy, we train and coach students into achieving their greatest potential,
Yeah.
and also in personal, professional, and career development. And so we partnered with, through my consultancy, A Clement Executive Coaching, which is a John Maxwell leadership licensed company. We train young professionals from ages 16 to 35, 40 in areas of public speaking, resume writing, interview success tips, leadership development, professional coaching, entrepreneurship, leadership, business mindsets, and all of these different awesome training courses, certified training courses that you can add to your business toolkit, your professional development toolkit. And so we want to invite you to register for a new program that we are launching in April, this month coming April, called Activate Academy. And Activate Academy, we believe that you have to activate in order to accelerate. Many people want to, upscale their income, or they want to climb the corporate ladder, but they need to have certain soft skills and certain corporate skills in order to achieve those goals. So as we close, we want to thank you for tonight. We're just going to play this clip very, very quickly, and you're going to mark the date, mark the time, and you can scan the QR code that's on this clip. So that way you are able to register for this free, very free pre-launch event, which takes place on the 12th of April. So you don't want to miss it. Scan the code, and you can go on our Facebook page, AS Coaching TT, AS Coaching TT on Facebook. We are also on Instagram as well, but you can look at this video, scan the code, and get all the information for Activate Academy 2025. All right, so you can just take a look on the screen, and we'll be right back. Yeah, so thank you so much for coming tonight, Activate Academy. You don't want to miss it. Parents, it's a great way to prepare your children for the world of work. The way the world is rapidly changing. A CXC certificate, is not giving you those hands-on soft skills and technical skills that a child needs to take advantage of job opportunities when they leave school at 16, 17, or 18, and so at the Activate Academy, we activate those world of work skill sets, and we train them and develop them so that they can really take advantage of certain job opportunities at an earlier stage in life. So we want to thank you guys so much. for coming tonight. Ms. Moses, your closing words.
Again, thank you all parents, all local and listening audience, for being here with us. We're always happy to have you. We'd love to hear a little bit more from you, though. All right. It's always good to have you share with us. So, Mr. Clement, is it the 6th? We'll be back. I'm not too.
Well, we are going to we are on every first and third, and so because the first Sunday is actually next week, you know. But I guess we were so excited to have this program today. All right, so we will be back on the third Sunday of April, and we are hoping that is going to be very exciting as we continue this topic, double standard parenting.
All right, so thank you and have a good evening all. It was a pleasure to have you, and we'll see you on the third Sunday of next month.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a good evening, Heather, Mr. Clemens. Always a pleasure.
Good evening. Good evening.
Take care.
Take
Have
care.
a good evening.